The content you're about to hear is a part of a paid programming segment. The views, opinions, and statements expressed belong solely to the sponsor and do not reflect those of Podcastic or its host. This segment is for informational and promotional purposes only and should not be considered as advice or endorsement. Listener discretion is advised.
Good day, good people. Welcome to another fun and purpose-filled episode of Lesson for the Journey podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to share insights and information on women's wellness, understanding our whys, and the lessons that inspire us to take positive action in ourselves, our families, and our communities. Our topics include women's wellness, seeing through a metaphysical lens, sharing spiritual insights, highlighting journey lessons, and building healthy relationships. I am your host, Dr. Hetheru, and I share this space with engaging co-hosts, inspiring topics every Friday at noon for a transformative 1 hour here live on Podcastic and Facebook. You can expect deep, thought-provoking conversations on self-discovery and personal growth, special guests, locations, events, people, polls, and thoughts, co-host sharing wisdom and life-changing insights, a powerful blend of spiritual, metaphysical, and wellness lessons, and tools and strategies to help you elevate your mind, your body, and your spirit. Our show is produced by Chantel Mosley of Podcastic Studios. Our co-hosts include Ma'at Sabah, Mary E. Bayou, Nicole S. Miller, and special appearances by Dr. Calvin T. Mann. If you are seeking clarity, healing, personal empowerment, this podcast is for you. So we need for you to tune up. You guys got that right. And be inspired, because we want you to not only just evolve, but elevate. And to do that, we need for you to first grab your tools. These are the most important tools that you're going to have in this journey. The first one being your water. Make sure you have your water. Make sure you have a notebook or journal and an ink pen, and utilize these tools as you take this journey with us today. We have a really deep topic, and it is one that my aunt brought up over the last week or so around death, and we're going to pour in, but we want you to be prepared for this. And so often we start our podcast by sharing with you an experience that we call the Ma'at Memos. And the cards that we use in this reflection process is from Ma'at Memos, Me, Myself, and I. And today we're using the Me, Myself, and I card. So what we do is we select one. We share with you our insights as you consider the question for yourself. And then we share our responses with you in hopes that it will help prepare you for this conversation that we have to come. So it's always very insightful, and we're going to share with you right after we do our reflections how you can get your own set of memo cards. So I'm going to go first. I'm digging in the middle. I'm pulling from a bag here, so I'm digging in the middle of the deck, and I'm going to pass it to Chantel so she can pull hers. How about that? We have a producer that participates in the conversation. All right. And wow. This is really deep. Okay. So my card asked me, if you won $50 million, but couldn't spend it on yourself, your family, friends, or businesses, what would you spend it on and why? Very, very great question. I already have a plan that we have put in motion around what we see as a vibrant community, and that those resources would definitely move into that, lifting our community and our culture around awareness, empowerment, and understanding the time and the space that we're in, and how we better work together to build family. So that is going to, that's already, like I said, it's already planned, it's already written, parts of it are already in motion. So all we need is that drop of the 50 million to put the full plan in motion. So already planned out. What a card today. All right.
So my card is, what is the greatest act of kindness that you have done for another person? Why did you do it? I think one of the biggest acts of kindness was me taking, at the time, my boyfriend's grandma to the cancer walk, the breast cancer walk downtown. And I felt like that was really key for me to do, because I actually took her to my appointment, took her to her appointments on my off day, and I actually found out the first day when she found out. So taking her to that, once she had survived and beat it, I thought that was just a profound moment. So yeah, that was one of the greatest acts of kindness that I did, because it wasn't even my grandma, but I felt the connection and love. So
oh, bless you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That fits right in. You're sweet. I could see you doing that.
Right.
I don't know if we pulled this once before, but it said if you had 3 superpowers, what would they be and why? So my first one would be to read minds. Because if you could read minds, that's pretty much all you need, right?
Yeah.
You'll know what to do.
That's a good one. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, I'd want to read minds first. The second one, probably maybe to teleport. The third, that's interesting. What would the third one be? Probably, which I feel I already have it, would be, and I don't know if you consider it a superpower, but I'm just going to say discernment. And why? To read minds, you would know everything you need to know. You'd know if somebody's telling the truth, if they're not, if you know how to pre-plan if necessary. You would know everything that you need to know if you would be able to read minds. And if you have the spirit of discernment along with the reading minds, you would feel what's really going on the surface and under the surface. So therefore, you would know everything. And to teleport, this is crazy, but I was thinking about, you get home at the end of the day, and it's like just that last walk from the car to the house. You fall asleep in the car, because it's like going from the car to the house, it takes that last bit of energy. But if I could teleport, I would be at home and in my bed in like a split second.
Oh, that's awesome.
That would be my 3.
Yeah, I could call you like, I'm feeling this way, man. Here you are sitting next to me. Like, what's happening?
That would be fun, wouldn't it?
Yes. I wouldn't have to even pick up the phone and dial.
See, I could transport and go get some ice cream and nobody would know and come back.
Oh, yeah. Look, you could be at the
we need
beach.
to do this.
You could be at the beach. Yeah, I know
This
you
is
love
good.
the water. This is getting better and better the more I think about it. So thank you. So we're going to show you how you can get your own set of memos and how you can use it with your loved ones, family, and friends. So stay tuned. And so as we dive into our topic for today, we always do another reflection question. So let me give you the topic again. It's the death of 2025 and understanding our fear of death. And so we're using the closing of the year to help illustrate what death looks like from a different perspective. And so the question for today is, what are your thoughts on death? while facing the holiday season. What are your thoughts on death while facing the holiday season? How would you respond to that, Maud?
Well, there's many different kind of deaths. There's death of a way of being. So maybe throughout the year you've made a transition where you were behaving in one way, and then you realize that you didn't want to do that. You want to make a change, and so now you're behaving a different way. Mm-hmm. That would be a death. Death is a transition. Mm-hmm. So anytime you transition from one state to another, you could look at that as being a death. So it would be maybe a transition or a death of thinking, a death of being. It could be where, let's say you were working a particular job and then you started your own business and you transitioned into your own business. So that's right there. You're a different person there because now you're a business owner. Before you were an employee. So that would be kind of like a death. There could be death of relationships and breaking up of relationships. Those can be looked at as deaths and opportunities for growth. What did you learn from that experience? And when it comes to physical death, that right there can be it's an interesting topic. It's a sticky topic. It's an emotional topic. Because the physical death, when it comes to a person dying, it's so many dynamics involved. It's so many, probably all emotions are involved all at the same time, because you're dealing with the love of the person, you're dealing with the grief of them not being there, you're dealing with the fear of them not being there, you might be dealing with the anger that they're gone, guilt, didn't get a chance to do certain things, didn't say things, said things you shouldn't have said. So there's a lot of emotions involved around the death of a person, and also the intensity of it, which might depend on how they passed. If it was expected because of an illness, if it was an accident, which is unexpected, if it was from tragedy. So all of the emotions are the same. The intensities are different based upon, I think, the situation. So if a person passes and they've been sick for a long time, it's expected. So you get an opportunity to process that before it happens. If it's an accident, you didn't get a chance to process anything, and now you're dealing with that extreme shock. So that's, with the physical death. When it comes to 2025, death in terms of 2025 will never come again. And so technically it is a death of this year. But at the end of the day, with everything, because I'm a firm believer in that everything that happens to you is an opportunity for you to learn something and grow. So what did you learn in 2025? What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about the way that you respond to things or not? Did you achieve the goals that you set? Did you set goals? Are you the same person as you were when 2025 came? And if you were, you might want to look at that. Why? If you changed, what way did you change in? Did you elevate, or did you go into decline? Did you make any changes in life? And some change towards a positive is excellent. You always want change. Did you learn anything new? I'm a firm believer in every year you should learn something new, not learning to do something new. Whether it's picking up a hobby or take a class or getting into a different knowledge that you didn't have before. So always elevate and grow, and extend yourself as far as you can extend it. Did you travel? What did you do? What can reflect on this year, which can kind of set the stage for next year? If you didn't achieve certain things, now it's an opportunity for you to set goals for 2026. If you were behaving in a certain manner that you didn't like and you want to change, then that's an opportunity to set goals for 2026. So there's death and rebirth. So I think that's my take on it. I didn't say anything about the holiday, but...
So thank you. Thank you for sharing. When I think about my thoughts on death and facing the holidays through that lens, it's a reminder of my loved ones. It's a reminder of, that even though they may not physically be going through this holiday season with me, that there's so much of them that is. And so much more of them that is. They travel with me through this season with the memory. They travel with me through this season through our shared interests or beliefs or values. And for my household, and I know I mentioned this before, but for my household, we have an ancestor. We call it the ancestor board. And it's, big poster board, big 3-panel poster board, and has pictures and names and of those who we loved and who have made their transition. And at the very top, it says, we honor you and never forget. That we'll never forget who they are, who they were to us. And we live that out through how we live every day. And so it's really a blessing. It's a real blessing to not have to dwell in the fact that they're no longer with us, but the fact that we take so much of them with us into, not just the holiday, but throughout the next year. And so looking at it and facing it, and of course, some of these are spaces that have healed now, that you can actually talk about somebody without, having to weep, for missing them. And you can talk about them in celebration and excitement. And I think once I'm able to get to that point where I can talk about them with, and celebrate them and celebrate even knowing them and the impact that they've had on my life, I think that I have arrived at a point where I have a better understanding of how to face death, not just at the holiday season when it's most, when you feel most connected, because I am connected. That's the other part of it. I know I am connected. I don't have to think about whether I am or not. They are already connected to me. And so that's how I face it. Chantel, you have any thoughts you want to share?
So for me, it's a little tricky, only because I know that death is something that's going to come. It's the inevitable. But it does sadden me a little bit with death kind of around the holidays, only because of the joy that I see that it takes away from people. Like they completely shut down, don't want to be around. Family really feel like they can't continue and go on. And I know holidays are used for happiness and family and joy. And I just don't want them to further miss out, on life, trying to deal with or kind of wrap their head around losing someone. So it's a tricky time. I love the holiday seasons, but I just wish that it was a way that they were still able to look at the good in the holiday, even due to the cause of what happened. So
Thank you. And so our conversation today is going to help address a little bit of that and a lot of the things that Ma shared. And this is kind of the start of this conversation. And again, a little background on how we got here. Ma and I were talking about really how people are affected by death, and recognizing that it's in this natural cycle. But while it seems and feels so unnatural when it's happening and when you're going through it, it is still a part of this whole divine process. And you mentioned, birth and rebirth, life and death. So you want to share a little bit about your insight about when we were talking about when this topic came up, and we decided, well, I didn't have a chance to talk to you more about it, but when we talked about having this conversation. So what were your thoughts behind it?
The birth, you said death and rebirth?
Yeah, when we were talking about this being a topic that needed to be discussed.
I think when it came to, we were talking about the holiday season, I believe, and how people respond. Like there's a lot of, like she was saying, a lot of depression and different emotions that family members go through with each other, and having them to be able to relate to each other, relate to their emotions, relate to the situation. It's a lot emotionally, and people don't typically converse like they should. And you have to, I don't remember everything that we said, but when it comes to death and rebirth, we were taught to look at death when it comes to a person of finality, and that's not the truth. Our loved ones I look at them and they're just being in the next room. Like, they can hear you. They know exactly what's going on. They're at functions. When you have a function, they know that a baby's coming. They know when someone's about to pass. They know everything. It's just that unless you are gifted enough to be able to see them, if they're able to reveal themselves to you, where you can physically see them or with your spiritual eye, people don't realize that they're there, and they are. They have different ways to communicate with you. You have to learn what that is for each one. My dad comes in my dreams. My brother, he was a smoker, so if I smell cigarette smoke, then that's him. My grandmother, she shows up in these big, huge, ginormous bees in places that they shouldn't be. It could be flowers or a certain color, smells. So they come around, and then sometimes you can sense them, but you're not paying attention to that sensation that you're feeling, so you don't attribute that with a loved one being present, but they are all the time. So, but because we're not taught that culturally, in recent history, we're not taught that. We just believe that that's it. They're gone. They're in misery. They're in hell or heaven or whatever, whatever you want to believe about it. But I would suggest taking the time to connect with them. Say, whatever, Dad, Mom, I need to hear. I need to know you're present. I need to feel you. I need to hear from you some kind of way. And they will come to you in a way that's comfortable for you. Some people are scared, like if they saw a loved one, they would freak out. Some loved ones, they'll be in the pictures, like they'll take a picture of a family picture, and there'll be a loved one in the background somewhere, and so they were there, but they weren't physically there. So they reveal themselves all kind of ways. Mm-hmm. When it comes to rebirth, when it comes to a loved one, again, I'm real big about lessons. What is the lesson that I got from that person, and how can that change me? What can I grow from as it relates to my relationship with them? Being a different person is a rebirth. It's a new you. Anytime a new you comes forth in whatever manner it is, either your behavior, your education, your achievements, that's a rebirth. It's a new you. So maybe take a look at your perception, your definition, and your perception of what death is, and try and find other ways to look at death and perceive it. The way we perceive it now is extremely painful, and I don't like that feeling. So I choose to look at it from a different perspective. My loved ones are always around. They're around me right now. So because I know they're there, I have that comfort around me. I call them my spiritual fam. So when I'm going through something, I'm like, okay, spiritual fam, I need you now. I need for y'all to show up. I need your help. But I encourage you to look at death from a different perspective that maybe won't be as painful for you, so that you can find a different way to look at how the person passed, even if it was tragic, and how to transition from there. I'll give you one example, and I'm going to turn it over. I was given a class at this center for young people that are we're in the criminal system, so they have to take these classes in order for them to not go to jail. And so this particular one was the women's class, and the young lady has shared that she felt responsible for the death of her niece, her infant niece, and it was not her fault. I'm not going to go through the whole story. It was not her fault, but she took that on, guilt, because it happened in her home. She had nothing to do with it. But, and I told her, I said, well, what about looking at it differently? What about create a foundation in the baby's name as it relates to infant or infant mortality or whatever the mother liked, or something like that. So take that and make it into a positive. And that would be, to me, that would be like a transition. So death and a rebirth. So you had a death, but the baby's still alive. You're keeping her alive with her name, with the foundation that you create. Mm-hmm. So that's just one example. So,
when you mentioned that your loved ones that come to you in other forms, for a lot of people, cardinals and blue jays, blue jays, and then there is the mourning dove. Those three have been indicators for, at least in people that I have talked to, that one of those three have been an indicator that there's a message from their loved one. Personally, this is my spirit guide. It's a cardinal. So I know when it shows up, it's confirming something for me. And it's also helping me to acknowledge that my loved ones are well, and that this is the way that they transport that message to me. So, and it's funny because I was just talking to someone like yesterday maybe about the blue jay being their vessel, and recognizing that is a loved one coming to show up to say, I'm here, do you see me? I see you. Mm-hmm. And so as we talk about this topic, I'm going to share, or we're going to share some perspectives, a lot of what my aunt talked about, and how to shift your lens. Now remember, we look at things too from a metaphysical, a spiritual lens, and from wisdom and life lessons. So as we're sharing this with you, I hope you have your notepad or your journal out, so you can jot down a few of these nuggets and jewels to help you along this journey, and to do more deeper reflection, especially if you're having difficulty dealing with grief and loss, or the death of a loved one, or the death of a way of being, or a death of a transition and what you're leaving behind. There are a lot of people who grieve leaving a year behind, and see that transition as a death of a year. And that's kind of where that part of this message was inspired. So as we close the chapter of the year 2025, we allow it to move behind us as part of our past. Now, the key word is that we allow it to move behind us as part of our past. We remember the moments and the life lessons as they are still with us, but the physical moments are transitioned to another part of our being that we no longer can see or experience with our known five senses. Consider that as we release this year, we are also allowing it to pass away while we prepare ourselves to embrace the next new chapter and new collective year called 2026. That means we are in agreement that 2025 ends when we celebrate on New Year's Eve, and that we are ushering in and celebrating in the new life, the new 2026. This process of life and death are not so different. A new year is born and the old year surrenders. This perspective is a way to show how life and death are not meant to be feared, but embraced. Many of us are taught quietly that life is something to cling to and death is something to fear. We treat them as opposites, as if one is a reward and the other is a punishment. But from a universal, cosmic, and spiritual perspective, life and death are not enemies. They are partners in the same sacred process. They are not separate events. They are connected phases of one continuous journey of transformation. Just as inhaling requires exhaling and night follows day, existence itself moves in rhythms. When we understand this, fear can soften into understanding. Understanding opens up in our hearts and minds to embrace a space that we have no real control over. We don't have control over life, being born, or death in the next transition. So, Mom, do you mind taking part one?
Okay, the three core reasons we fear life and death. Number one, the fear of loss and separation. We fear death because we often fear losing what we love, which includes our bodies, our roles, our relationships, our memories, and having presence. We are attached to form, to our physical presence, and the presence of others. Yet the law of divine oneness reminds us that nothing is ever truly separate. We are made from the same cosmic substance as the stars themselves. What changes is not our essence, but its expression. Loss feels real in the physical sense, but spiritually, connection does not end, it only transforms. We can see this when we lose someone close to us. You almost know immediately what they would say or do in a certain situation that would help you feel better. This is the transformation of the energy still present without the body. Want me to keep going? Mm-hmm. Okay. Number 2 is fear of the unknown. Humans are often conditioned to fear what cannot be controlled or predicted. Death feels final because we cannot see beyond it with our physical eyes. But the universe itself operates on unseen laws every day. Gravity, energy, time, and consciousness all move invisibly. But we have a sense of knowing that they are there because we practice the mindset. The law of perpetual transmutation of energy teaches us that nothing truly disappears. Energy simply changes form. Death is not an ending into nothingness. It is a transition into another state of being, the state of the unseen, just as it was before we were born. Number 3, fear of judgment or meaninglessness. Many people fear death because they fear it is punishment, regret, or that their life didn't matter. The law of cause and effect, or the law of karma, reframes this fear. Life is not about perfection, it is about learning. Every experience contributes to growth. Nothing is wasted. Every choice carries wisdom forward. From this view, life is not graded or judged, it is refined. We know some people to transition quickly through choices and tragedy, some through lingering illness, and some through old age. Even then, in those painful circumstances, life goes on, even when it is no longer called life, and we call it death.
So I just want to, I know that's a lot. It's a lot to kind of take in. I want to share a bit of a perspective when we talk about this perspective through this universal lens. But I want to frame that with something. I looked up how many people die each day, and then how that translates to every minute. So it says globally, around between 150 and 173,000 people die a day. It said that translates to about 100 to 120 deaths every minute. Let that simmer just for a moment. We're talking about between 100 and 150 and 173 people die each day. And that's about 100 to 120 deaths every minute. And so why that is important is because there are about 8 billion people. I want to say that was the number I came up with. Yep, 8.2 billion people in the world today. And when you think about how those up to 175,000 or 173,000 lives that are moving to this next transition affect the 8.2 billion people. And the beautiful thing is that there are roughly 400,000 babies born each day compared to numbers. So checking out is 173,000 people, but born in is up to 400,000 babies. And so that breaks down into about up to 280 births per minute. That's 4 per second around the world. We're talking about a system that is a synchronous system. Mm-hmm. More coming in than going out. But the fact that there is a transition in and a transition out. That is a natural cycle that's happening every day and every minute of that day. And so just to have that as a backdrop to why we need not fear, why we need not the emotions that we're feeling, shifting from fear and being afraid of this transition to respecting, embracing, and valuing it. So when we talk about part 2 of this conversation, life and death as one sacred rhythm. The law of rhythm teaches us that everything in the universe moves in cycles. The tide rises and falls. Seasons change. Hearts beat by contracting and releasing. Life and death are simply the high and low swings of the same pendulum. Death is not a failure of life, but it is a necessary pause that allows for renewal. In nature, death feeds life. Fallen leaves become soil. Decay nourishes growth. Without endings, there'll be no space for beginnings. So as we talk about those numbers, about those babies being born in and those lives that are transitioning to its next level, that it is a rhythm. That is a rhythm of coming in and rolling out that everybody experiences. Nobody escapes that experience. Nobody. And so because we understand now that there is a natural rhythm and flow, we are to be a part of that flow. We are to be a part of that flow and be okay with not having control over the when, the where, and the how. We do our best to live our lives to the fullest, and that is what we are intended to do. And to grow and to leave in that decay, to leave in that the life for the next person, that life for the next generation, that legacy of life and living in that rhythm. And so how we do that and how we do that well is a real testament to who we are and who we become in this lifetime. So here's one: the body ends, the essence transforms. The law of rhythm is the same rhythm that governs our biological bodies and our spiritual evolution. Biologically, our bodies follow a sacred pattern. Birth introduces energy into form. Growth expands that energy. Aging softens and prepares that same energy, and death releases it. The physical body made of Earth's elements return to the earth, but the essence, the soul, conscious, and energetic signature continues. Across spiritual traditions, this continuation is described as rest, rebirth, ascension, or reintegration into universal consciousness. And so the second insight is life is a chapter, not a whole book. Think of death as not being erased, but a sleep between lessons, a moment of recalibration before the next expression of existence. When we understand life as a temporary physical experience with an eternal journey, urgency replaces fear, but not panic. So it becomes sacred energy to love well, to grow honestly, to release what no longer serves, and to live aligned with purpose. Life gives meaning to death, and death gives depth to life. Together they form a sacred cycle designed not to punish us, but to evolve us. And then, so if we can just take a moment and have that conversation, let's look a little bit deeper into that before we move on, because I think this is such an important piece of this conversation, to understand that this is one of those additional chapters in our life. I like and I love referring to either our year as a chapter. And so that year that year of your next chapter, it still is that next chapter, even though your time may not have the same meaning in your next incarnation, but it still has meaning. You are still on this journey of self-discovery. And you know, we know that it's a belief system. A lot of people have different belief systems about what happens next in terms of heaven or purgatory or hell, of what is around that next corner, that what's in that next chapter. And you know, different people have rewritten that chapter in many ways, and we have chosen to believe one what that next chapter might look like. And so as we think about this as in terms of the chapter and not the whole book, depending on your belief system, what you choose to do with this chapter, you can only control your now. You can't control your yesterday, and you can't control your tomorrow. You can only control your now. How are you living and being in that best moment, that best chapter today, and every day you call today? That's where you have control. That's where you can change your mind. That's where you can change how you look at fear, or how you look at death, or how you look at what is ahead of you. You decide that in the moment that you're in right now. And so I just thought it was important to kind of pause and really look at, and I think of those of you who journal, or those of you who have written books or are writing books, and you look at your book in terms of chapters. What happened in that chapter that you wanted to convey? Anybody that's a writer, and you're a writer too. So when you think about your books, and I know your books specifically are around these life lessons. So when you look at your chapter of your particular book, the one about spit, not alcohol.
Alcohol and spit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When you think about when you wrote that book and you started to put that information together, where was that information coming from?
All of the books that I write and the stories that I write are all based upon something that actually physically happened in my real life. Mm-hmm. Some directly, some loosely around it. And Alcohol and Spit is about telling the truth. And it really, the whole thing was spiritually inspired, like literally the whole thing.
Right.
All of the books were. So, and they're written basically in parable form. So, and anybody that has written anything, it's not an intellectual experience. It's a spiritual experience. You have to, like when they call it writer's block, if it was intellectual, you wouldn't have writer's block. Mm. It's a spiritual thing because you got to be able to tap in. Same thing with music. You know, you have to wait for that feeling. You have to wait for that nudge, and you know it because you can feel it. And so I think I can say for anybody that's written a book, it's something that is in you that you pull out of you, and it comes in spurts. It comes in chapters too. You don't get the whole thing all at one time. You might get a couple of paragraphs, and then you might get 6 chapters all at once. So that is interesting. I never looked at it like that.
Yes, and you know, of course, this is most of the content that comes out is downloads, and it's that's it. It's just how it works. And just as lessons for the journey, the name of itself indicates that it was something that was done in that moment, and is being shared for the journey. That is the purpose of this podcast. That is the purpose of everything that I write. That's the purpose of everything that I share. This was given to me to share, that this lesson can be applied to your life, to your journey. And you don't have to necessarily have the lesson in order to get what you need from it. And that's what we do for one another. And this is one of the reasons why I believe that this chapter, let's just say this chapter of 2025 has been so important. It has shown us ourselves. It has shown us what we are judging, how we are judging, why we are judging. And this particular year, 2025, has been a year of judgment on multiple levels. People judging other people by whatever circumstance, whatever belief, whatever way of being they have, and how others who are in decision-making roles have also used that judgment and have placed value in places and spaces where other people do not. And this is a lesson for us to take into 2026. What are you doing, believing, thinking, experiencing today that you do not want to take into your next chapter? You do have control over that in this moment today by what you think, because that is what is seeding what you're going to do in 2026. So I want to get to my number 3, the invitation to embrace the creation process. To embrace life and death is to trust the intelligence of the universe and your place within it. It is to remember that you are not separate from creation. You are a true expression of it. When fear dissolves, reverence remains. So that would be the respect remains. When resistance softens, wisdom rises. And when we stop fighting the cycles, we finally learn how to fully live, love, and deeply transition peacefully into rhythm with the outer universe as well as our inner omniverse. And so I just think that's a really important space to be in as we start to learn and unlearn and embrace this cycle, because again, nobody gets out of it alive. As we begin to embrace this cycle, that the things that we can affect in our now be that thing that you carry on, or that carries on with and without you as you make this transition into 2026. And so this final part is how to begin. How do you even start to embrace this thing we call death? And so the journey of embracing and understanding begins with understanding how you currently think about death. What are your thoughts now? And this really is a great moment of reflection. It's a great moment to journal it so you can capture those ideas. So you'll have a different direction, and you can map how you felt at this day, at this time, in this season, so that you can have room and you can follow your path of growth. So the first thing is to ask yourself, what have you been taught about death? Who taught it to you? And where do you see these thoughts expressed most? That is in your life. Where do you see it expressed most in your life? Are there people in your life that are afraid of death and dying? Are they afraid to die? And that, what are some of the values around death and dying? What have you been taught or told happens after you die? And also looking at, who is that source of information? Is this because this is what has always been in your family? Is this what you have always thought in your community? Have your culture and your values shaped what death and dying looks like? And so now you have an opportunity to really embrace it yourself. What do you believe? What additional information have you gained to help you shape your belief around death and dying? And secondly, consider asking yourself how you want to feel when somebody passes away. And I know that's kind of a different way to think, but how do you want to feel when somebody makes their transition? How do you want to feel? And then what you feel, and do what you feel is happening to you, and then them, using the perspectives that we used before. So thinking about how somebody's making their transition and how you feel. And then think about yourself making that transition and how you want others to feel. And now consider how you want others to feel when you make your transition. And then, do you live now and act now in cooperation with how you want others to feel about you when you do make that transition? And then lastly, what do you need to change to be that person and free yourself from the fear of what you don't want? That includes what you don't want to happen in that next chapter of death. What don't you want to happen, so you can release the fears and know what they are? What fear are you holding about death that you believe is on the other side, that would make you want to hold on so tight to this incarnation? And so there's something there, and there's something in the knowing, and there's something in the unknown that causes the fear to stir and to stay. This is an opportunity for you to take your time and reflect. Take your time in understanding why you feel the way you do and where it came from. And so I think that's a really important perspective. Ma, do you have anything you want to share? We're going to go to some of our commercials.
This might be, it's not off subject, but when I looked outside and I see, it started to snow. And I started to think of the life cycle of a snowflake. How temporary it is. But it's one of the most beautiful things in creation is a snowflake. Not one is the same. The conditions have to be right. And once it lands, and it has to land, and once it lands, when the temperature changes, it transitions. And it just moves on to a different state. which is technically like a death. So
Yeah,
a snowflake lasts for what, a minute or two or three, or, if it's lucky, a couple of months if the conditions are right. So, but when it comes to how we look at and perceive death, I think that's something really important for us to do, examine our belief systems and look at death in a way that is not so painful. Learn to look at it differently, where I personally believe that we all are here for a allotted period of time. And when it's your time, when it's your season, then you transition. And everybody's is different. Some are only here for a couple of days or moments, when they're born in infanthood, just to have that experience, whatever that is. And some people are here for over 100 years. So everybody's experience is different. Everybody's season has a certain length of time. So if we change our perspective about it, it will help us to process when that time comes, regardless as to how it happened. But look at it, what did that life bring us? Those born in tragedy, what did the gift bring us? So I think that's the most important thing. And bless each soul when they transition here, and thank them for coming to be an experience in your life for whatever that reason was.
That's awesome. And I do want to share, we're going to share this in one of the commercials. The first one I want to share is around relationships, how it can be tiring, and that sometimes we can get exhausted in relationships. And both of our work with couples and with individuals is, how do you face that? And sometimes you do need a coach, a therapist, a motivational, inspired healer to help guide you through understanding your relationship as it relates to you first, but also how it relates into your marriage, into your dating life, into companionship. Those things are really important. So drop that for me. So you guys got to see my animated message, and so all right, so lots of ways to explore and express 2025. Know that you have resources. You have resources in Ma'at Sabah, in Relationship First Aid. You have resources in your Inspired Journey to help you move to this next chapter. And so, speaking of chapters, we have a inspired book drive for our boys, ages 3 to 7, this Saturday at 22114 Telegraph, which is Lit Studios, and we are giving and gifting books care of our provider. Great Start Wayne gave us some books for our Reading is Life initiative, and we are sharing those books on Saturday for boys, again, ages 3 to 7. You must come and be present, and we do want you to get connected and stay connected, because literacy is so important. We're talking about cultivating that life, that came into this world to do and be who they have the opportunity to do and be. And then sharing other writers' perspective of these lessons for the journey for our boys and how they can see themselves in the books. That is so important with motivating and inspiring boys to read so they see themselves in the books that they read. And let me see what else we got going. Oh, so here's an opportunity to gift someone coaching. And so it is a certificate that you can purchase, and just reach out to me, ask for this certificate. And this is one of the ways that you can gift somebody, especially if you have sisters in your tribe and you know that they're working on some specific things and need some help. Or if that sister is you, take an opportunity to take advantage of this gift card. You can put the value on that gift card starting at $75 and see what that person needs. Maybe they're stuck. Maybe it's a book that they want to write. Maybe it's a relationship or loop that they want to get out of. This is the opportunity to gift them something that is helpful and useful. And you can reach out to me. I'll share that information at the end of our show. And also another chapter for people who are looking for some additional direction. This is the new book by Dr. Calvin T. Mann, All Ingredients Counts. It's a great toolbox tool if you need to have certain insights into what exactly do you need to help you construct, reconstruct, and create the biggest recipe and best recipe for this journey. That's a great tool to have for everyone. So it's not just for men, it's for men and women. And then, of course, that's me, the personal change coach. You have opportunity again for coaching, one-on-one coaching. You have opportunity for training and development in your company, whether that's a small business or that's a larger corporation that you're a part of. I do intergenerational training in the workplace, team building, so that also is available to you. And my aunt also has a relationship first aid. We call it EMS. So that's an employer-employee emergency system that helps through crisis. So make sure that you're taking advantage of these opportunities. And if you are on this journey, this She Can Too journey, you know that is also available to you at Emmy Apparel. So we have a lot going on. We have lots of options for how you look at this holiday season, how you start off your 2026, and lots of tools that are available. And so before we end, we want to also ask Chantel to share about her podcast.
So my podcast is called One Step Closer. It is every Thursday on Podcastic, and make sure you check out yesterday's episode with Tony Knight as my special guest, and it was a great show.
Awesome. Okay. And so all of this information and these tools is really designed to help you navigate these chapters. It also helps you to navigate when we talk about death and dying, the understanding of it, to release the fear. When you do what you're supposed to do, there is no fear. When you've lived a life well spent, and we do that again from moment to moment, we choose that moment to moment. We want you to make the best possible choices for you. And we are going to ask Ma'at if she'll tell us how can people reach you, Ma'at?
So the website is relationshipfirstaid.com. This is real easy. The email address is relationshipfirstaid@yahoo. Facebook, Relationship First Aid. Instagram, Relationship First Aid. And just new to TikTok, Relationship First Aid.
So lots of ways you can get connected, get your spiritual tools, set up that couple times, set up that family healing group, especially during the holiday season. If you know that your family gets disconnected during the holiday season, this is a good time to reach out to my aunt for that family and group navigating, right? And so we look forward to seeing you in 2026. We have maybe one more episode left in the 2025. And you know it's an opportunity to keep growing and keep going, and we want you to stay clear.